Welcome to another tutorial. This is DJs on the beat. Today we are looking at the breakdown of Stamina by Tiwa Savage featuring Young John and Ayra Starr, Celestial Being. And first off, before we move into the breakdown properly, this the beat is originally produced by Magic Sticks, and it's on F major, and the tempo is 105. So let's go into the breakdown. So the first part here, I'm using the keys intro. So the keys here, I'm using Lounge Lizard. So this is how the keys sound like. It's on F major. So the next one is the key 2. So let's listen to that. So that's the key 2 is in the body. The keys intro is just the intro part. There's this one too, the key outro. So the next one again, we have the groove 1. So the groove 1 is here. This groove 1 is groove 2 and groove 3. So we listen to them and we listen to them together. So groove 1 is just the percussion to the whole drum groove in the beat. So the groove 2 is for the kick. So this is groove 3. So the next one we're moving to is the strings. The strings now, I'm patching up actually 5 things together. I'm patching up 5 strings. First one I'm using is from Ayra Orchestra. I'm using the violin 1 section, the viola 1 section, the cello 1 section, and also the full string tremolo. That's what I'm using on the Ayra. This plugin is one plugin that is very old. I don't know if people still have it, but if you need this particular plugin, maybe you can reach out to me. I should make it available for you. But it's a pretty good plugin to have. It has this old effect to it. So the other one I patched up with it is this Sakura. That's a stock plugin in FL Studio. So I'm using this patch from the string. You see viola FG. So that's what I'm using for this part. So let's listen to it. So that's the strings. So the next one we are moving to is the bass. The bass now, I'm patching up 2 things. I'm patching up EZ bass and purity. So purity, under purity you have under the bass guitar we have the Ana bass guitar. So I'm using Ana bass plus EZ. So the EZ bass is just there for the live, because the bass is sounding a little bit live and at the same time sounding digital. So I have to combine 2 together. I have to combine live and digital together. So that's why I'm patching up 2 of these basses together. So then I blend them together so to have a very good mix. So I'm using EZ bass and Ana bass from Purity. Let's listen. So again, I would love to emphasize this. Always find a way to tweak your velocities. Velocity would help making a VST sound more real. When you were able to know how to tweak your velocities very well, so have the understanding of a bassist playing or a keyboardist playing live, how would he play? That's what you should input into your velocity, so it won't sound just monotonous. So you have to make it dynamic. So the being dynamic in playing will either tell you if this is live or digital. So try tweaking your velocities. So the next one we have is the second part of the bass, which is this. So the next one we have is the log drum. For the log drum, I'm patching up purity. I'm using the purity angle now for the low end, so it can balance up the low end of the log drum. So the log drum is sounding this way. So most of the time I'm using this purity. It's not necessary you hear it. You just need to feel the depth, because most of the not all the time you have a low note in the log drum. So when you have a no note in the purity, it helps to keep the low end of that sound in the log drum. So you even know the difference between the log drum and the purity. So that's helping a lot. So the next log drum I'm using the same thing but patching it up with a snare sound. So the next one I'm using I called it a static synth, but I'm just using two instances of GMS. So the first GMS I'm using is Metallica TE. So so the Metallica TE now, I'm using Metallica TE here. Also I'm using another one gated called LS. So those are the two patches I'm using from GMS. So they sound like this way. So basically just playing just a note throughout. So let's now look into the breakdown, how I put it into use. So for the first part now, the key intro is coming this way.
So many things I could do to you. me say you cover me now.
So now I'm going to be taking the mixer channel. So the first part of this, which is the kick, I have just a limiter here just to compress I'm using the compressor mode just to compress the kick. And that's all I'm using on the kick. So the next one, which is the keys, you can see I'm using virtually nothing on the keys. It's sounding the way I want it to sound. I'm just panning it a little bit right. That's 60%. That's 6%. So on the shakers, I have a transient processor. So the transient processor there is just to tighten up the shakers, not to be that loose. I don't want it to be loose. I want to be compact together. So another transient processor you can use if you don't want to use this transient processor, this stock plugin, you can use the one from Waves. That's Smack Attack. And there's another one from Native Instruments. That's also called transient processor, native transient processor. So that's the other ones you can use. So the next thing I used here was the EQ. So since there's a lot of low end in my mix already, so I don't want much low end again, so I had to roll off the low end. So at this particular point here, there's this harshness. I had to bring it down. That's on the 8 kilohertz range. Then I have to boost up to give it air in the other part of the spectrum. So the last one, I'm using a reverb. So I'm using a 3.0 decay time. I'm using the room size of 50, low cut, high cut. I'm using this reverb here as a send. So I love using reverb as a send because I can really control what my reverb is doing. So the bass, now I have a limiter, so I'm using this limiter as a compressor, the first one as a compressor. I'm using a reverb on my bass. Some people will be like, why do you have reverb on your bass? Sometimes being unconventional might bring out good results, might bring out some results, which I tried it once and I loved what I hear, so I tried it here again and I love what I'm hearing, so I left it. So the reverb is not doing much. I'm just using just 14% of the reverb. So the reverb is just to space out the bass, bring it back a little from the kick. So as much as I'm using a sidechain on the bass and the log drum, I want to space out my bass I want to put it in the space that it is maybe a little bit behind every other person. So that's why I used reverb on the bass. So I'm using this limiter here as for a sidechain purpose. So for the log drum, also I have a compressor and I have a sidechain compressor too. On the strings, I have a compressor, a stereo enhancer, a reverb on the strings, and I have a EQ. I took off the low end, boost up the mid. That's pretty what I did. On the rims, I had to take off the low end of the rims too. I have like, let's see, in total I have like 7 or so, yeah. So I had to like be able to sculpt them, use the EQ to at least boost some frequency, take out some frequencies. So this is what is left of the EQ, and a little reverb just to space it out also. So the percussion, The same thing, I don't want the high end of it. I have to take it out, a little bit of low end out. So it's just the way of listening to your mix and or your different mix channels, and okay, this is what I need. The mix will tell you what it needs when you start hearing them. So the for the for the synths, I have a reverb and I have a stereo enhancer. That's all I have in the mix. So you can see all the way here now I'm dropping the synth all the way down. To me, this is kind of wrong. I should have done the gain staging before getting here. And the norms, I won't put down my fader to this level. The highest I would have been in this range here. I find it better when I am in this range. You can see the remaining ones, they're not moving below that range. So if I had done my gain staging very well, it won't be this way. So that's just one trick I want to drop to. Before you start mixing, try to gain stage. Some people ask, how do I gain stage? There's two ways you can gain stage. Either use a gain plugin, which is that's fruity balance. This fruity balance, so you use fruity balance before any plugin. So that's what you do. But or if you have not done that, if you're not doing, you don't want to do that. So on this part of the channel volume, before it gets to the mixer, you drop it. You can have your mixer, maybe you can have your mixer out beside you, and you watch the meter as you pull down, so you can see what is really going on. So when you are doing that, you can look at the meter. Okay, I have it in the range. What I do is that when I have both at maybe -3 or at 0, so I know I'm unity on both sides, so I can now start mixing. That's what I do. So that's just the tips for today. So till we meet next time, peace out.